Welcome to It All Boils Down to This, the podcast where father and son take the kitchen table arguments and heated discussions from their home directly to yours. Jim and Jack Boyle will explore the world as only they can. We might even let a few guests join the fun. So sit back, choose a side, watch the water temperature rise, and enjoy stimulating generational conversation about sports and life. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of It All Boils Down to This with your host, Jim Boyle. I got Jack Boyle with me today. Jack's prepared some baseball stuff for us to talk about. Welcome back to the podcast, Jack. Any quick things happen over the week that you want people to be aware of?
Not really. I got back on the golf course after my big ankle injury playing 1v1 basketball against one of my friends. And I didn't play that well, but got the job done.
So you got back on the course, which is good to hear.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Yeah. My week was probably much more exciting than that. I took the Amtrak down to Philadelphia for a Springsteen concert. Was pulling out of Penn Station on Wednesday afternoon, and got a text from my nephew who was going to the game, go to the show with me, and he texted that it was postponed. I thought he was pulling my leg, and Bruce got sick, postponed the concert. So I went down 6 hours and stayed overnight at your other cousin's house. At least I got to see the cousins and the kids. You know, it was good to see that. Rob and Dave are great guys. Hosted me, and then I took the ride all the way back home, and here we are back, podcast land, ready to roll. A lot of stuff's happened since we last talked. It's funny. The World Cup has ended. The Women's World Cup has ended with Spain winning, and they play a different style of play. Just real quick recap.
I thought the game was on at Sunday, 8 p.m., and it wasn't, so I missed the whole game, didn't watch it. I saw some crazy stuff happening at the end of the game with just the way they were, the Spanish Football Federation football president or whatever it's called. He was kissing one of the girls on the lips, and I don't know. It's just a very weird ending and just shows how inept and stupid FIFA are at some things.
That's why we have FIFA. It's to be inept and stupid, right?
Another point, England did lose, and I know the royal family, especially Prince William, is getting hammered for not going to the game, and he probably should have been there, because if I know that the Euro final was in Wembley, so it was convenient for them to go to when the men weren't in a couple years ago, but if the men were in a World Cup final, he would have been there. 100%.
So you're saying that Prince William and the royal family are sexist?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying they made it was poor judgment to not go to that game.
Yeah, but it was a long flight. Come on, they had to take the Royal Airline.
What
all
else
the way
do
to
they
New
have
Zealand.
to do? That's their job. Their job is to be like the face of England and stuff like that, and PR and all that. That would have been a good look for them.
Well, they could have sent King Charles. He would have loved that, huh?
Someone said the Markle family there, they should have showed up just to shove it in their face. But things aren't going well for them. They had their podcast canceled.
Yeah, we open invitation to Harry and Meghan. If they want to come on our podcast anytime, they can come visit with us.
We'll mediate the Bill Simmons versus Meghan Markle debate.
Yeah, and also that'd be a good way to get your sister involved, because she told me the other night she's a boy. Why I'm not going to be a guest on your show. But maybe if we talk royal family stuff or Taylor Swift stuff, she can come on and help us out. So, yeah, it was an interesting week. The Sox won 3 in a row against the Yankees. Again, they sneak it back in. Are they good enough? Simple. Before we go to baseball, are they good enough, Jack?
Well, are we going to baseball? What are we starting with? Football, baseball? Yeah.
Let's go with baseball.
They have to be good enough. They're at a point where I know there's still 3 games out of the wild card. I know they still have to jump 2 teams. But what's coming up is the 2 teams they have to jump right now are Houston and Toronto, or Seattle and Toronto, two of those 3. And the next 10 games that they play are both against Houston and Toronto. So, again, we'll see in 10 games.
They got the Dodgers, too, in there, don't they?
Oh, you're right. No, it's Houston. It's Houston and the Dodgers, not Toronto. So it's 10 games against Houston and the Dodgers, who might just be the 2 best teams in baseball when they're fully healthy.
That's probably true. And it's going to be tough because it's Mookie. We're going to go to the game on Friday. Mookie's coming home. First time, or coming back. It's not home for him anymore. He's coming back, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle that whole thing. They usually do a pretty good job when the players come back with the video and that sort of stuff. But
now, I have a question about that. So who's come back? Like Nomar's came back, right?
Yeah, almost. I think
and
almost
Pedro's
everyone
came
has.
back, right? Has anyone came back in the midst of having a midsummer charge for the MVP? Like still playing at that level?
That's a good question. I don't know, because Mookie probably the best player they let go.
I mean, he might win the MVP this year. He has put himself back into that conversation, win the MVP, and he is coming back to return to Fenway as as a non-Red Sox for the first time playing at Fenway, and he's going to get a big ovation. Has anyone ever came back to Fenway that left the Red Sox like this and been this good?
No. The only one possibly could, and this is definitely not equating Mookie with John Lester, but Lester had some great years once he got signed off with Chicago. And if you think about it, most players that leave, Pedro left the end of his career, Manny was Manny. Mike Lowell, all those guys who come back, Jacoby Ellsbury, Johnny Damon.
When Manny left, he was done. It was past his prime. Mookie left in the middle of his prime. There are some players who still left in the middle of the prime. Like, did Fred Lynn never had like a year? Did Fred Lynn ever? He went to the Angels, right? Was he ever at that level that he was for the Red Sox on the Angels?
Probably not. But Fred Lynn, that's back out. That's again.
But
we
that's
talk about my youth
back.
and your youth. It goes a long time. They never handle things like. I mean, when Fisk came back, he got a big ovation, and Fisk might be the most relevant person to Mookie. And it was a whole different ownership group who screwed everything up there. But when Fisk came back, I remember came back with Chicago and he homered. And Clemens is the only other one that when he came back, he was in Cy Young form with Toronto.
That's a good one. Clemens, the way Clemens left, it's different, I feel like, than one of the players like Nomar, Mookie, and stuff like that. Clemens kind of forced his way out, didn't he?
He didn't force it. He got a free agency.
I know. Well, he didn't want to come back.
Right.
Did they really screw him over?
No, I don't think they screwed him over. I think he just wanted to go for closer to home. So he went to Toronto.
And also, did John Lester ever come back? I don't ever remember John Lester coming back.
That's a good question. Did he come back with when we moved him to Oakland? I don't know, but he would have been one. He's one recently I can think of.
I don't ever remember him coming back to Fenway. To be honest, I don't know if it ever happened. There's a good chance it didn't.
So again, I agree with you. This is the biggest one since the new ownership took over. Nomar came back later. Pedro, they had a great hand. Ellsbury came back. Damon came back. All those.
Well, Damon got the biggest boo shower of all time.
Right.
When he came back.
Right. But that was expected for. And Ellsbury left, and you could run down. The Panda's never going to get great big reception back from the fans. But
Pablo Sandoval, the Panda.
I'm just kidding you, Pablo Sandoval.
I like to forget that he even played for the Red Sox.
Or how about David Price? Or one of those guys.
David Price did almost win the World Series MVP for us. So.
Right. So again,
he was a toxic figure at times, though.
Yeah. Again, with Mookie, it's different. This is different. But again, to the Red Sox credit, as much as they trash talk everybody going out to try to make their point, make them right, according like Terry Francona, he was a drunk, he was a womanizer, blah blah blah. They saw all that crap about him. Mookie didn't want to be here. Mookie was never going to sign here. Mookie was never going to sign here. So Mookie's going to come back high come back really high on his on performance, right? He's like almost an MVP candidate, or he is an MVP candidate, except for Acuna. But again, they'll do a nice presentation. He'll come up to the plate. They'll take time out. They'll probably get a strike called on him because the fans won't shut that up, and it's deserved. I think it's a much deserved thing.
He talked about that on his podcast, the strike thing. But what they'll do if he does get a huge ovation, steps out of the box, if he'll get a pitch clock violation. So that's just an interesting thing to watch out for when that game comes around.
But it'll be timing, really. When do they play the video? If he leads off, and he probably will. So it's 7:05 for a 7:07 game. But right before, they'll do the national anthem, and right before he comes to the plate, they'll put the big thing on the screen, and they'll do all his highlights. This home runs here, his catches there, the big events he had here in Boston. And again, it was a short period of time.
It was only 5 years. Yeah, it's crazy. It's only 5 years.
But 5 years, a lot packed into that 5 years.
Correct. Second place MVP finish, a first place MVP finish, a World Series, 3 division titles. A lot of good stuff with him here.
No, I totally agree with you. And I would never boo him like I would never boo Xander. Maybe Ellsbury and because of the Yankees, but at
Ellsbury did us a favor by signing that contract with the Yankees. That if you kind of look at that, that's almost like because he signed that in the after the 2013 season. It's like the beginning of the end of the Yankees right there. Just them start making terrible move after terrible move after terrible move. That's kind of like the start of it.
I think the beginning of the end of the Yankees was George Steinbrenner dying. And,
but
sort of thing.
They don't. The Yankees are. That's what I'm like. Sometimes I've been mad at the Red Sox a lot in the past couple of years, but you know what? I could be a Yankee fan right now, and that is just horrendous.
Yeah, but if you're a Yankee fan, you could say 27 World Championships to 9. They always Babe Ruth. They always bring that stuff back.
Yeah,
Yankee fans
that
are sort
doesn't
of
matter
cocky
anymore.
in that
Who cares? The Yankees. They haven't won in 14 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, they haven't been in the World Series they missed the whole decade, and now they're 3 years into this decade. And again, just like anything else, that's it's management, just like it's here. I mean, you're up and down with management here. All right, so we're gonna go see Mookie.
The thing with
in
management
this
here,
return.
though, is we've made in the time that they haven't made a change to management, we've made tons of changes. I mean, Boone's been there, not Boone. Cashman's been there since '98.
Yeah.
How many executives, general managers, whatever they're called nowadays? What chief of baseball operations? What it is? How many chief of baseball operations have the Red Sox had since '98? 6.
I think it's 6. So let's count the 6 down. I think it's 6. So you've got Duquette, and then in the interim with Duquette, Mike Port took over when the new ownership came in. Then Theo came in. Then Theo left for about 6 months, and they had the interim guys. And then Theo came back, so we'll leave that Theo. That's 4. And then Theo decides to leave again, and they bring in Charrington. And then Charrington leaves, gets fired. They bring in Dombrowski, and Dombrowski gets fired. They bring in 6 or 7, which is a lot if you think about it. So there's no consistency about that.
And we've had the ups and downs, and the Yankees have kind of been relatively consistent in terms of not finishing in last place, which they are going to this year, it looks like. So that might be the reason why they haven't made changes. But I thought the standard for the Yankees was always win the World Series or bust, and now it's, hey, if we're over 500, we'll go again next year.
Probably was, and you know what? It's good for them. Those fans deserve all the winning that they get. They're so cocky down there anyway. And again, it goes back to, we talked about this with the Patriots last week. Is people were, you assume they're going to win because it's all you've lived with, and eventually all the stuff eventually crashes down. Like with the Celtics in the '60s, and the Celtics won a little bit in the '70s, and then Bird, they won in the '80s. All of a sudden, it took them 20 years to win again.
Yeah, well, it's like the children or the people who were like probably in high school or whatever when the Yankees won all those championships in the late '90s, and then they became diehard Yankee fans. You see all that, you're a diehard Yankee fan. Their children now, they're probably about around 20 years old. They've seen nothing. They've just seen losing, and now that's going to happen. It seems like with these Patriots fans for the past 20 years, they've seen all this great stuff. They're diehard Patriot. There's so many diehard Patriots fans now. They're going to be raising kids to be diehard Patriots fans that are going to see nothing. And just be jealous of the success that their parents had.
That's true. I always look back at 2001, which was 9/11, and the year they lost to Arizona.
Kurt Schilling.
Schilling and Randy Johnson. That was like the beginning of the end. Then they came back and beat us on the Boone home run and lost to Beckett and the Miami. And then they won the one World Series they got to win. They beat the Phillies, correct? Yeah, it was the Phillies. And then they haven't won since.
The Phillies made back-to-back, yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
And then you get to now. So it's tough. You're right. It's just like Patriot fans, or even think of yourself as a Celtic fan. It's been difficult. So,
it's been difficult in terms of winning and all that, but we've been right there. And I've seen a lot of successful teams. And basketball is different than baseball. It's like the Yankees can go out and buy themselves a team, basically. The Celtics can't do that. You can't do that in basketball. So it's different. It's a different type of sport. The Yankees have bought their team in the wrong way. They got Stanton for free. For free in terms of they didn't have to trade anything for him. They got stuck with that contract when they could have spent that and bought a different player, Bryce Harper, who would have helped them a lot more.
Yeah, but then Bryce would have shaved that beard, and he would have. Maybe Bryce would have changed that. You know what? First thing they should do, Yankee fans.
We're talking a lot about the Yankees. I like it.
This is my alert.
It's so
it's so bad. It's so funny to watch
them. They are.
8 straight losses. But if you think about it, let them have a beard. Why are they so? Put the name on the back of the uniform. They're so it's.
Who cares about that though? That's not affecting their play.
Things, though. It's stupid little things. It's stupid. It's the Yankee way.
Yeah, but
don't you get sick of the Yankee way?
I don't think the Yankee way means nothing to me.
Well,
that's the
it
thing.
should
The Yankee
mean
way
something
means
to you,
nothing to me. They lose. All they do is lose. The Yankee way. What's the Yankee way? Go down 3-0 in the ALCS and play videos of the Red Sox making a comeback against the Yankees. Is that the Yankee way? I don't care about the Yankee way. I just think they're just stupid in how they spend their money and how they build their roster. Simple as that.
I forgot about that 3-0 piece in the oh my god.
And Boone kept his job after that. I don't know who raised Hal Steinbrenner, but it certainly wasn't George.
He did raise him. Don't worry about it.
I don't know.
I think he did. All right. So what else do we got? So we're down the rabbit hole of Mookie coming back. What do you got for me next?
Since we're getting close to the end of the baseball season, we're probably not gonna. Maybe when the playoffs start, we'll talk about it again. But I wanted to just talk about right now who's having really good seasons. So the AL MVP is over by a mile. I was trying to think. Do you know who's going to finish second? I haven't even looked at the odds, but just like off the top of my head, who's having maybe the second best season in the American League right now?
The second best season in the American League. I would have gone. You know who's had a really good year? Very understated. Louis Robert over with the White Sox. I think he's had a pretty good season.
That's a good shot. I wasn't even thinking about him. Yeah, he's got to have
Sorry,
close to mid-30s. Going to probably hit over 40 home runs, right?
Yeah, he definitely will. I'm just so look. I'm looking at my list.
If I look up the odds, it's going to be Ohtani's. Right now, ready for this? Ohtani is minus 30,000 to win the MVP. I mean, I don't even think the max bet you could probably bet on that. They probably don't let you bet a lot of money on that.
It's probably off the board. You're right.
It'd be smart to bet him. So there's two guys you missed. So they don't even have
two guys I missed.
They don't even have Robert in here, but the two guys who are tied for second right now. Both of them have very good years. Kyle Tucker and Corey Seager.
Yeah.
Corey Seager.
Corey Seager, I can go with. Tucker he's so erratic. Tucker is.
Corey Seager, I think he's back qualified. So Kyle Tucker is not erratic. That's a very wild. You don't know what you're talking about.
But he's terrible for the first 2 months of the season.
No, he wasn't terrible. He struggled for the first month and a half of the season. That doesn't mean you can't win the MVP. But Corey Seager, he's a guy who signed over a $300 million contract. Who, as of right now, it really looks like it was a good deal for them.
What about Simeon?
Simeon's on here too. He's another guy signed a huge deal and had a tough first year. And I still don't really like that deal for him, but he's looking good, looking like he's back to that form he had 2 years ago.
So Texas with Simeon and Seager, and they had the Josh Jung kid who was a Rookie of the Year candidate. They've got your boy, the catcher.
Yep,
Jonah Heim. They picked up Scherzer at the deadline.
The Garcia guy drives in trillion runs.
Garcia.
Yep. Adolis Garcia.
He can't do anything but drive in runs and strike out, though.
No, if you can drive in 130 runs, who cares?
I'm looking right now. I just pulled up my favorite place, Fangraphs. I'm looking at WAR here.
I don't care about WAR.
You don't care about WAR. Let's just to go through.
What's Kyle Tucker's WAR?
I don't even know.
Yeah, where's he rank? I bet
Kyle Tucker's only in the major leagues. Kyle Tucker's at 14. He's right below Adolis Garcia.
Get out of here.
He is. That's this one.
That's why the stat sucks.
Because they only have no pitching combined. Betts, Ohtani, Acuna, Freeman, Lindor, Robert.
Lindor stinks.
Lindor's had a great year, though.
Lindor and Swanson have. No, they're not. Lindor's not had a great year.
He has had a great year.
Yeah, the Mets are really doing good with him.
That has nothing to do with the Mets.
Lindor's not having a great year. Lindor's having an okay year. He's not. Who would you rather have? So they're getting paid the same amount of money. Who would you rather have, Francisco Lindor or Corey Seager?
Well, I definitely would. I would. Seager only gets hurt all the time, but I would take Seager.
He hits the ball way better. I don't know. Lindor, if you look at his numbers in Cleveland, they're much better than what he's done on the Mets. He just gets the WAR. Him and Dansby Swanson, they get the high WARs because they're great defensive players. But would you really rather have them
friend
than
Bobby? What about Bobby Witt Jr.? What about him?
I don't know enough about him, what he's done this year. If you want to talk about a streaky player,
yeah, he is.
Bobby Witt would be a streaky player, but he's young, and you can expect that.
I agree with that.
Player like
and
that.
then we got I'm looking down the list here. Julio Rodriguez. What do you think? Got hot.
Honestly, if you take away his last week, his numbers aren't even that impressive. But I did see somewhere he's the only player in MLB with, I think it's 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, and 30 doubles or something. So that's a pretty good stat. So yeah. He's another guy that took a big contract. Yeah. I don't know. That contract's weirdly structured, though.
It's big, though. He took a young contract.
Over $400 million, I think.
And he's in the sophomore slump. He started to rebound a little bit. Next here on this list was Simeon. And then here's one to talk about. Wander Franco. The wonder for Wander Franco.
Who cares? Wander Franco, we don't need to talk about Wander Franco.
Well, again, he's a highly rated player, though.
Yeah, it's tough if you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan, you know?
Yes, it's tough if you're Tampa.
We'll see what happens with him when more stuff comes out. But yeah, it doesn't look like a good situation down there in Tampa.
And then my favorite thing, because you and I did the WAR. I like to use WAR just as a I would say as a guideline for me. And my favorite WAR player on here is Kim of San Diego. I think you had him in fantasy last year, didn't you?
Again, he's had a very good year. I have him in fantasy this year.
Picked
him up halfway through the year because he's a good player, but he's not great. Plays a bunch, good in the field, gets on base, stuff like that. But again, he's probably got a higher WAR right now than someone like Matt Olson. Would you rather have Ha-Seong Kim than Matt Olson on your team this year? No way.
And that's a no. Come on.
I obviously know that's a no, but that's what I'm saying. That's why WAR is stupid.
But he's still a top 20 player in the National League this year, though, right? Yes or no?
I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
Okay, it's San Diego, all right? It's San Diego. Let's look at Soto, yes or no?
Yeah, he's been better. Machado has been better. Machado's came on better late. That's
Xander.
No.
And then the drug addict, Tatis.
I don't know enough. I didn't follow enough about Tatis, but I bet you Tatis has probably had a pretty good year.
But those are the guys, and then they have some pitching. And
I would
and
take their. Let's see, one second. I'm going to look up Tatis real quick. But I think I would take 3 guys on that team alone, and that's a crappy team this year. 3 position players on that team alone above him. I just somehow,
you would, because
I ended up on his father's baseball reference page, Fernando Tatis Sr.
Yeah, he played for the Sox. So.
At Cardinals, it looks like
triple
his
play
picture
guy.
here.
I think he helped turn a triple play here.
So right now, this is funny about Tatis. Tatis in the National League has the highest offensive WAR. This is not Baseball Reference, which is a bit weird, their WAR, but they have him as the highest offensive WAR player in the National League. So 3 players in that team alone. I don't even think he's a top 20 player in the National League this year.
Probably not. Okay, so that's AL MVP. We talk about that, right? Ohtani's going to run away with it, no doubt about it.
We didn't talk about the AL MVP. We talked about who's going to finish second.
Finish second. I like the
now the National League could get interesting.
Oh, I believe that. Okay, so let's throw that National League. Who do we? You have the betting odds there somewhere.
So Acuna's a pretty heavy favorite right now at -650, which is, I mean, with what 3 weeks? Not 3 weeks.
I'd say there are 4 players. Right?
How many weeks left in the season?
6.
6 weeks left in the season. At -650, it would take a lot for him not to win it, especially with the fact that he's going to hit 30 home runs. He's going to steal 60-plus bases. He's going to hit over 330. So I don't know how he wouldn't win the MVP, but there are 3 guys right now who are having just out-of-this-world good years. Mookie might hit 40 home runs, and he can play shortstop, second base, right field, all over. Yep. Freddie Freeman's just on base all the time. One of the best hitters we've seen in the league in a while. And then Matt Olson might hit 60 home runs. So if Matt Olson hits 60 home runs,
we've had
does
this
he not win the MVP?
No, because
but then why Judge win the MVP last year over Ohtani?
Because they don't like giving it to
They don't like giving it to
Ohtani. They don't like Ohtani.
No, I agree.
They don't like Ohtani. I don't think Olson. No, we've had the discussion.
But if he hits 60 home runs,
he hits 60 home runs, and Acuna hits 40 and steals 60 and hits better average, scores more runs, great leadoff hitter. Who's the MVP?
I don't know.
Come on,
40 and
go
60 is a big difference. 60 home runs does not happen a lot. How many players have hit 60 home runs in the history of baseball? Not that many.
And how many players have hit 60 home runs and not won the MVP? 4. Sosa, McGuire. McGuire won it.
That's because they lost it to another guy who hit 60 home runs. That's a stupid point.
That's a great point.
No, it isn't. That's stupid. You know that. But Matt Olson, Judge last year deserved to win the MVP because he did something unique. He did something nobody had ever done in the American League. Now, I know it's been done in the National League, but what if Matt Olson breaks, it's not the record, but what if he breaks Roger Maris's record? Hits more home runs than Roger Maris. Why does he not win the MVP when Judge won the MVP over Ohtani last year because he did it? And
well, because I think because simple. The 4 players you talked about, Dodger, Freeman and Betts, Acuna and Olson. I would rate them Acuna, Freeman, Betts, Olson. Because Mookie's having a great year, but I think Freeman's been had more impact overall.
But you're a big WAR proponent. Mookie can do more. Mookie can play shortop for you. He can play second base. He can play right field. He can play every position besides probably catcher. And I don't know how his arm's good enough.
So he is like he's like the smaller version of Ohtani because he's multiple position guy. No.
Who?
Yes? Ohtani.
Who?
Mookie.
No, he can't. What does that mean? He can't pick.
He can play all those positions.
Forget about that.
I just said I would say National League MVP right now. If I voted, I'd go Acuna, Betts, Freeman, and I just misspoke. I'd go Acuna, Betts, Freeman, and Olson, and maybe Olson goes above Freeman.
Do you know Freddie Freeman stole 16 bases this year?
Yeah, everyone steals bases this year.
Freddie Freeman might hit 60 doubles too.
Yeah,
he leads the league in total bases. So yeah, he's having a very good year. But those 4 guys I think they'd all finish second in the American League. They're all having those 4 guys would all finish above anyone in the American League right now.
Oh yeah, because Ohtani's having the unicorn year of all unicorn years. You got him pitching great, hitting great. Although he's really slowed down pitching wise. I think he's fatiguing anyway. And this is the question. Someday we'll talk about when we get to the free agency when he goes free agent. But that's going to be the question: is does he wear down because he's doing both now? And there is a logic why you don't do both, and he might. But right now. He's like he is, except for he's not stealing bases like Acuna. He's far above the best player in the game right now.
Yes.
And then those 4 National Leaguers are right behind him as far as position players. So yeah, I'm still going to go with Acuna, even if Olson hits the 60, because I don't think Olson's going to get to 60.
Well, that's the thing. Even if Ohtani didn't pitch, he'd still win the American League MVP.
Right.
If he didn't pitch a single inning,
Yeah, he's
he
had
would
the best
still win the
offensive
MVP. He's
stats.
been the best offensive player in the league.
Correct. I agree with that. So what about
Going back to numbers here, Corey Seager's not even. He's played 81 games. Kyle Tucker's going to finish second in the American League MVP as long as he keeps it up. And that's the thing.
Well,
the
what
American League
about
MVP, two of the best hitters, Jordan Alvarez, the Astros, and Aaron Judge. They had injuries that made them miss about 2 months this year, and those would have been guys who are perennial MVP candidates.
Okay, so
hit
let me
40
throw,
home runs and hit 300.
let me throw out some dark horse candidates for the leaders. Atlee Rushman, yes or no?
No, they've had a great year and a good
MVP?
team, but no,
No.
give him. He can have the Silver Slugger.
Silver Slugger for the catcher.
He can. Yeah.
So then the Texas Simeon, I think Simeon's going to finish top 5. I think for the Rangers because he's been that good.
Again, there's still 6 weeks left.
And
so
then I'll give you Tucker's been the best player on that team so far this year on Astros. And then who's the Minnesota? I don't even know who the hell Minnesota would have to be in the top 5.
Minnesota's
Probably
got the Pablo Lopez. They've got good pitching from
Right.
a lot of guys. So that's Minnesota. Minnesota also plays in that. Even though the division doesn't matter anymore in terms of your record because you're not playing them as much, but they still get the advantage of they're going to make the playoffs because they're in that division and they won't get the bye, right? Because 2 teams get the bye, so they'll probably be the
Correct.
third team.
They'll play. The next thing is
So they're basically a wild card team, so it doesn't matter.
so
them being in that division.
Tampa Bay probably you have if Franco wouldn't get in trouble with little girls, you'd probably have Franco at a Ruzarona, a baby maybe again
as MVPs,
Yeah, as getting
but
top 10 votes. Not going to win.
Nah, I don't think either. Maybe a Rosarena. Yeah, maybe.
All right, I'm just saying. Dude, looking at the the teams that are leading, the Angels have Ohtani. Seattle's an interesting squad as they come back. Rodriguez is going to get votes as well. Okay, so that's the National American League MVP. What do we got next?
Cy Youngs. We haven't talked about pitchers at all. What do you got pitchers wise? So I was trying to think. The American League. How much do you know about the American League Cy Young this year? So I do think Garrett Cole has the best odds, right?
I'd go with Cole out of the best odds because I think he's been a better pitcher than Ohtani, except when he pitches against the Red Sox.
They're not going to give Ohtani the Cy Young.
No, but the guy I have on fantasy,
Pablo
Lopez has had a
like
great
we just
year.
said, very good year. Another guy is Gausman. Kyle Gausman's had a good
go
year,
with Gausman.
and they're going to be in the playoff picture.
And then
and then Louis Castillo of Seattle. If you look at Seattle's come
Do you
on
think Castillo
really
is better
late.
than George Kirby?
Yeah, I think
Think
he's
so?
there. I think. Well, we'll see. Let's hope they make the playoffs, and let's see who starts game 1, because that'll tell us who's better. And I think he is their ace of that team. So yeah, he's better than Kirby. And then the one wild card here, he's kind of faded lately, and you have to be 11 out of 10. You have to be perfect out of perfect to win it as this. But Felix Bautista, the closer for Baltimore.
Yeah, he's actually not faded much. I mean, they
He had that. He gave
one
up the
bad
home.
game.
He gave up the home run to. I forget who hit the 3-run home. Oh, Kyle Tucker.
Oh, is that who it was?
Kyle
Oh,
Tucker's the
that's
one guy
fantastic.
who's really hurt him this year.
So he's got. What about like Zach Eflin?
Who?
Eflin. We're supposed to get
No,
him.
he's not pitched enough. He's been hurt.
Yeah,
He's been hurt on and off. But here's the thing about
Framber
Batista.
Valdez.
Wait, I want to say Batista. They've won 77 games, right?
Yeah.
Their run differential is only plus 79, which means they're winning a lot of close games because of him. So the value he's adding to that team is pretty massive right now.
So that's the difference between.
Well, here,
You know, it's funny. Go.
Tampa's run differential with 75 wins is 161.
Let me look at San Diego's run differential, and they have Josh Hader, who's had a great year, and Bautista's run differential they're probably about the same. San Diego has lost so many one-run and extra inning games, but they have one of the best closers in the game.
Well, has he been good?
So that's why I would say, yeah, Hader's been really good. So that's why I would say he is not going to.
Their run differential is plus 57, by the way, and they're 7 games under 500.
Yeah.
which is
It's just how do you get like that? Honestly,
it means you win big and you lose small.
well, they've lost a ton of one-run games, and that
almost shows me it's almost a fluke year, and that they should expect to be good next year.
Right. It's the reverting back to the norm piece, where you have to get that understanding. Eventually, like we said this in fantasy all along, guys are eventually going to get their numbers, and that's what's going to happen. San Diego's too late in the season now, so Cy Young Award, American League. I think it's Cole's to lose. If he shits the bed again like he did the Sox
He
again.
won't. I
What
guess,
about
yeah.
what about your buddy Framber Valdez? I mean, he was hurt a little
He's
bit.
he's been horrible. Post All-Star break, he's been horrible.
So you think Gausman could get some votes?
I like
Lopez
Cole,
could
Gausman,
get some votes?
Castillo.
Castillo?
Cole, Gausman, Castillo, Lopez, and Batista. That's my top 5.
Okay, and then Batista. I think Batista's going to get some votes. I agree with that.
Yeah, he should get not first place votes, but he should get votes. He should
Okay.
get recognized for the year he's had. I agree. A relief pitcher shouldn't win the Cy Young unless you throw over 100 innings, and you're like pitching 2 innings a game and getting 2 innings saves. Then you can win the Cy Young. Sure. Like who's the
Dennis
dude?
Eckersley.
Did he do that? No, I'm thinking of somebody else who used to get like 3 inning saves. I don't know.
Well, Goose Gossage, he didn't win the MVP.
Was there a guy in the Cardinals? Nah, forget it.
No,
Whatever. So yeah, that'll be my top 5, and then we can go to the National League.
National League.
I don't
Okay,
know.
what do you got?
I looked this up for odds. It's relatively close, but right now the 4 that are really in it are Zach Gallen of Arizona in the playoff picture.
Yep.
Blake Snell of San Diego, who's had a great year,
Yep.
not in the playoff picture. Logan Webb, who is pitching for the Giants, they're in the playoff picture. And then Spencer Strider, who has struck out 1 trillion people this year, might strike out 300 guys. He's also in the picture. But his ERA has gone higher a bit lately. His FIP, fielding independent pitching, though I hear is very good. Or he is... His ERA is higher than his FIP or whatever.
So what
Meaning
you
he's
tell
not
me
getting
is-
much help from his defense,
what you
even though
tell-
their
what you-
defense is supposed to be very good.
What you tell me is wide open. What about your boy Justin Steele, the Cubbies?
I don't think
he's been
Cy
good enough?
Young level. I don't think that's Cy Young level. But that's the thing. Say Strider strikes out 300 batters. Does he automatically win the Cy Young?
No, not at all. Not at all.
No?
Strider. I don't think has Strider.
He's had a
I'm
good
still
year.
on the fence on Strider because
No.
I don't know.
He's had a
I
very
would
good
say
year.
Arizona was in the playoff picture for a while. Gallen held him in there. It's tough. I mean, it's wide. That's why.
I think Strider is the most fantasy points in our fantasy league for a pitcher.
Logan Webb, Strider, Gallen. Who was the other one you gave me?
Snell?
Snell, Blake Snell has had a good year, but not a great year. What about a guy like Mitch Keller from Pittsburgh? He's not going to win it, but he's put up great numbers.
I guess, but he's not. I don't.
But the
think he's
National League
winning
Cy Young
Young.
is National League Cy Young wide open.
I think they're
could be
both.
anybody.
Nobody's really having this crazy dominant pitching season this year.
I agree with you, and I don't see Strider. What's Strider got? 14-4 as of today, right? 14-4, 25 games, started 25 games, 146 innings pitched. Gallen is.
How many
13 and
strikeouts does
5.
he have?
I'm looking. Hold on. It doesn't have it on. I don't think I have strikeouts on this one.
It's a lot.
His K per 9 is high. It's 13, almost 14 strikeouts per 9 innings.
That's pretty good. That's pretty
really
good.
good,
That's pretty
so.
good stuff right there.
So it's I don't know. It'll be interesting to regroup back in November when they pick it, but that's a tough one. That's a tough one to pick, I think, because maybe it's going to come down to who pitches well down the stretch in the National League.
That's the thing. Like Cole isn't pitching for any. Well, this is in the American League, but Cole isn't really pitching for anything at this point. But he's still going to win the Cy Young. But there's somebody like Gallen and Webb. They're both in the wild card race right now. And say one of them just goes off in September and pushes their team in the playoffs and wins that Cy Young award. Yeah, it's there for the taking, the National League Cy Young award this year.
Yeah, and last year's winner, Alcantara, is.
See, that's the thing. He had an outrageous year. Like he had one of those.
He did, but he also
supreme
had a bad
seasons.
start of the season. He started to come on late, but he's not going to win.
I know, but nobody's having a year this year like he had last year.
Right, I
Where
totally
he
agree
had
with
like
you.
5 complete games last year or
Oh,
something. Threw like 230 innings.
And then there's not a. You're going to tell me no closer that gets top 4 or 5 votes unless you go Duvall or Hader or one of those guys in the West. No,
They haven't been. You have to get a Cy Young vote as a closer. You have to be special, like dominant special.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with that. What's our next
But
category?
we're still in baseball, so just right now we'll probably do this every week. It might change. We'll not do this every week. We'll do it before the playoffs start. But right now, who is going to win the American League and who is going to win the National League?
As of right now, I think the American League winner is going to be the Texas Rangers, and I think the National League winner is going to be the Dodgers. And my logic is I think the Rangers picking up the 2 pitchers because they got the kid from Jordan Montgomery and they picked up Max Scherzer. I think that supplements their pitching staff, and I think it's good for them. I think they have the offense and Seager's coming back. It's just kind of feels like this is a team that spent their money more wisely than like the Mets did. I am not as big on the Astros as I know you are, and I think Texas wins the division and wins it. But that could change in 3 weeks.
What's interesting about that division is Houston just got swept this weekend, right? They lost 3 in a row. They're still only 2.5 games behind Texas because Texas has lost 4 in a row. So nobody seems to want to run away with that division. Or Texas doesn't want to run away with that division. And Houston doesn't want to take the opportunity to get back in it. So we'll see. So your American League picks Texas. Who's your National League pick?
I said the Dodgers. Dodgers National League. Let's just go back real quick to
You don't
the
think
American
they'll
League.
Dodger it? Mm-hmm.
No. Eventually they will.
You think they're better than? You
No,
think
I
they'll
think-
beat the Braves?
Yes.
Better than the
yeah.
Braves.
I'm the Braves remind me a lot of the Red Sox of the late 70s, where this offense is absolutely phenomenal up and down the lineup. You know, I'm not completely sold on the Braves pitching, although they get great pitching out of some players, and they got Iglesias. I don't know. I think the Dodgers are starting to play much better than they have been.
Atlanta does have the least amount of runs allowed in the National League.
I know, but I'm just saying, can't I pick the Dodgers?
And in baseball.
I definitely. Let's go back to the American League. I don't see the Orioles having a shot. Tampa having a shot. Toronto, if they get hot because of their pitching.
Yeah, with Tampa and McClanahan getting hurt, they're done.
Toronto, if they make it and they sneak through because they have some. Their pitching's a little bit. Their frontline pitching with Gausman and Berrios and Manoah. And Manoah's had a tough year. That's a pretty good unit. Houston always is tough. I'm not sold. Minnesota, forget them. In the National League, watch out for those Phillies because for some reason they just get hot at the right time, and they also have 2 pitchers that can lead a staff with Wheeler and Nola. So I'm going to stick with the Dodgers and Dodgers and the Rangers, just as something different.
So I'll go different. I'll go with the favorites. Obviously, I'm going to go. I think the Braves. I think they're people don't. It is a crapshoot, the MLB playoffs. And people, anything can happen, blah, blah, blah. But if you do look back, close to 50% of the time, the best team in the league wins the World Series. It ends up working out the way. I think they're having that type of year. The only team that doesn't win the World Series when they're the best team in the league is the Dodgers, it feels like. But I feel like the Braves are just having that type of year where I think they're going to make the playoffs. Not the playoffs. They're going to make the World Series, and I think they're going to win it. And I think it's going to be a rematch of the one we had 2 years ago, and I think they're going to play the Astros. The Astros are just, until they show me that they're not going to do it, I think they're going to do it.
I would say that
it's almost like you're going to keep betting against the Tampa Bay Lightning because they keep making the finals and keep winning it. And the Astros, it's what now, 6 years in a row they've made the championship series at least.
But again, the Astros, if they have to come off the wild card, it's a little different. I mean, again,
it doesn't
you can say that it's the best team usually wins, but the way the playoffs are structured today. You got to win. You got to win and win and win. You got to win 3 series.
But
the
Astros aren't the best team. I'm saying that. My point is the Braves are the best team. So the Astros obviously it's a difficult path coming off the wild card. The Braves though they're going to have to have the bye or whatever.
So
they're automatically in the NLDS or whatever it's called now. I'm assuming it's still the NLDS.
Right. The Braves and the Dodgers are going to be separate. They'll be 1 and 2, and the Astros and the Rangers and Baltimore will probably be 1 and 2.
Well, the Rangers are the Astros, and then Baltimore or Tampa. Whoever wins the division.
Not Tampa.
Tampa could still win the division.
Not Tampa.
Yeah. Tampa's only 3 games back. They could still win the division.
So as of, what's the date today? It's September, Jesus. August, whatever it is.
21st.
21st, right? 21st. You've got the Astros and the Braves. I got the Dodgers and the Rangers, so we'll see what happens.
I have the Braves winning it. How about you?
I have the Rangers winning it.
All right, that's
I'm
going
to stick with
pick.
Texas.
And they've never won, correct?
Never won. And they did choke.
They should have won, yeah.
All right, what do you got next? Okay, so we got that. How about
we got to do
manager of the year? We got to go.
I mean, I don't care about manager of the year.
Alex Cora, just to piss off my blue.
The manager of the year. I don't know his name. Whoever's managing Baltimore is probably going to win manager of the year.
Hyde, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Couple things for next year. This offseason, the MLB, we are going to have the biggest free agent in American sports since LeBron James, and probably not bigger than LeBron James because the singular impact that LeBron James. He could have gone anywhere in the NBA and immediately they would have been a title contender. Ohtani can't go to the Royals and make them a title contender.
Correct.
But in terms of hype, it's the biggest free agent in American sports we've seen since LeBron James. Where do you think he goes?
Mets. He go New York.
Definitely.
I think the Mets.
They freed up the money.
I think
for
there
him.
are 3 places for him.
Got rid of Verlander and the contract of Verlander and Scherzer.
I think there's 3 spots for him, because Yankees can't afford him. I think the Dodgers, the Mets are head to head, and I think there's still a chance if the Angels pony up the money, he could go back to the Angels.
There's no way he's signing with the Angels. I actually do think he cares about winning baseball.
And then the 2 wild cards of the West Coast teams would be if San Francisco ever decides to open, it'd be a great place for him to play with the Asian population there, and Seattle. is another place where I wouldn't lose sleep. But I got the Mets. Who do you got?
So how about that? Well, I have the Mets too, definitely. Yeah, Steve Cohen's not letting him get away. That's just the type of player you build your franchise around. You build, he just bought that team. It'd be a great player for him to have. How about again, as a soccer guy, I recently saw Liverpool FC bid $115 million for just some midfielder who's a real good player, but he's not all that. He's not one of the best players in the world or anything. $115 million. Oh, what if John Henry out of nowhere decides, hey, I'm going to spend money and get Ohtani? Any chance that happens?
I would say that would shock the world, but you know what?
I
would say there's about a 20% chance of that happening.
No, 20% is way too high. 0. 20%.
If he wants to get the Japanese market, he brings them here.
There's not a 20% chance they sign him. There's a 20% chance they talk to him.
They'll talk to him. Yeah. I think got but nobody's going to outbid the Sox could outbid him, but they're not going to.
Okay, so I think we just answered the question that I'm about to ask because we say they're going to get Ohtani, but for next year, 2024, who has the best year? The Yankees, the Red Sox, or the Mets? I think we're all going to say the Mets, right?
I still think if we fire Bloom, the Red Sox will just have
So the Yankees
No,
or the
I
Red Sox?
would go with the Mets. Probably could, but you know what? That's a great question. The Yankees are going to struggle because of their depth.
Actually, wait, that question's wrong. Who's going to have the better year, the Yankees or the Red Sox? That's one question. And then the next question is, who will have the better year next year, the Mets or the Padres?
I will say next year the Yankees do not have a better year than the Red Sox better, Padres better.
I will go Red Sox better, Mets better.
All right, so we can agree to disagree on the Mets.
Depending on Ohtani.
Yeah, that's true.
If Ohtani goes to the Mets, I'll take the Mets.
No, that's true. All right. What is that? What do we got? Are we ready for our 7 wonders?
Yeah, so our 7 wonders of the sporting world today is MLB ballparks, and we're going to just keep it at current ballparks. Or, you know what? Should we do old?
Yeah, but I don't know how many old ballparks you would remember. How about this?
The Polo Grounds?
Yeah, I would never go there. That was a dump, just like the Fenway was a dump.
Well,
all right.
Like Ebbets Field.
Yeah.
What's the one in Detroit? Was there one in Detroit?
The Tiger Stadium. That was Tiger Stadium.
Chicago? Was there any in Chicago?
Was
no.
Old Comiskey, which I actually was at.
And then like Yankee Stadium, all that. So those would be the old stadiums. But yeah, we'll keep it at current stadiums.
Keep it at current? Okay, so
I got something in front of me. This might be a bit hard to actually pick. And like, where do you pick? Where do you pick the 2? Okay, so who's going first? Do you want to go first?
Yeah,
I think I went first the 2 drafts.
I'm going to go first. I got to take Fenway first.
Then Wrigley. So
you're going to take Wrigley second.
I hate Wrigley, but you have to take it.
And in the Panther, and I go next. I got Dodger Stadium.
Are you writing this down or?
Hold on.
I'll let you write it down. I don't feel
so
like
who do we? Okay.
You're going to go Dodger. You really like Dodger Stadium better than?
Hold on. So what went Fenway for me? And then Wrigley. Yeah, I think Dodger's the next.
I'm not a huge Wrigley fan, and I'm not a huge Fenway fan either, in terms of, like, actually sitting there and watching the game and, like, being comfortable and stuff like that. But you walk into Wrigley, you walk into Fenway, and it's an experience. So you have to say those two.
I agree with that. Like I said, third is Dodger Stadium, even though it's surrounded by water. It's like a moat. Got a moat now. I've been to Dodger Stadium now twice. In my lifetime.
It's flooded right now, huh?
Yeah, in my lifetime. And it's a great place to watch ballpark. The weather's always nice. It's held up really well since the early 60s because they don't get a lot of snow out there in Los Angeles, just a lot of rain this week. I'll go Dodger Stadium with my second pick. What do you got?
Yeah, that is the third oldest stadium, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so my pick here might surprise some people, but I just like the way it looks. I'm going to go with Busch Stadium, Cardinals Stadium.
Okay.
I mean, it's got the arch in the background. That's a great sight line, and it's a nice looking ballpark. I think of David Freese in Texas blowing their World Series there, but it's just an aesthetically pleasing ballpark. So yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that ballpark?
Never been in it. We were outside it. I like the aesthetics of it.
I mean, if you're sitting behind home plate, you're looking at the baseball field, and you look up, and it's one of the 7 wonders of America.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
We can do that in our next draft. We'll pick American monuments and do 7 wonders.
Awesome, that's great. So, I don't know. I've never been in the Busch, so it's hard to say. I think I agree with you on the aesthetic part. I'm going to go with Camden Yards next for me. Baltimore. I think that just again, I've been down there, and it's the one that started the whole revolution of great new ballparks and that sort of thing. But I I would skip over that one probably for my next pick because I'm looking at the ballparks that I've been to as well.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd go. So who
I wasn't really thinking about the ones I've been to. The thing about Camden Yards is it's always empty. So you never.
It's going to start to be full now that they're winning.
Even when they win, it's not full. Don't worry. We'll see what it's like in the playoffs. I don't remember what it was like in 2015, 16 when they were last in it.
They'll be okay.
But so there's never really a great atmosphere environment there. That's my only issue with that ballpark. Like St. Louis, you're always every night in the summer you're going to get a great environment. Same with Chicago. Yeah, but even when they suck, they're still bringing in fans.
All right, so I've gone Fenway, Dodger, and Camden Yards. You've got Wrigley and Busch Stadium. Who's your next pick?
It's kind of a pandering pick. It's probably widely regarded as the best ballpark in baseball. I'll go with Oracle Field. I think that's what it's called. That's
whatever they call it. So you're going to San Francisco?
Right on the bay. I mean, come on.
No, we saw a game there. It was cold.
You can't build a better baseball. You can't. The location of that is just perfect.
I agree. It's right down up in the city. Like I said, that's another one that we've been to. I wasn't as impressed with that as I thought I would be. I don't know why. Maybe it was just it was a cold and we missed the no-hitter the day before. But I can see that happening.
Yeah, Lincecum threw a no-hitter the day after. We had a pick. We could go to either the night game. I don't know what day of the week it was, but the night game the day before or the day game the day after. And we picked the night game. And in the day game, Tim Lincecum threw a no-hitter. So
yeah, just our luck. We missed the no-hitter.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Oakland's College. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I've actually been to that stadium, by the way.
Wait, Oakland or Tampa? Which one you taking?
I would take Oakland over Tampa because Tampa, I've been down there. I haven't seen a baseball game there, but that sucks down there, too. I'm going to go with a real wild card. I'm going to go with Minnesota.
I knew you were
Target Field because I loved. I mean, we went with.
That's like your favorite ballpark you've been at. Just
one of the favorite ballparks because you know
like you're in a movie theater. The
it's
seats.
Great, unbelievable. I was so impressed by. Of course, we were there middle summer.
And we were in the cheap seats too.
We were in great human seats, true. So I had seen a game at the Metrodome before they blew it up, and the Minnesota fans are so lucky that I like. I just really that ballpark. You can see some of downtown. If you're sitting in the right spot, but I go Minnesota next.
The only issue with that ballpark, and you complained about San Francisco, is it gets cold there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It'll be in the playoffs there. It'll be cold.
Okay.
So you have 5?
I have 4. Fenway, Dodger, Camden Yards, Target.
So I have 3.
Yes.
Give me a second here.
Oh, he's going to look them up.
I don't like... That's a pander, but that's a very aesthetically pleasing park that I'm not going to pick. That's too new. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I haven't prepared.
Jack wasn't ready.
I haven't prepared. I'm trying to see what I really like. I like Citizens Bank Ballpark.
I was going to go there, too. That's not bad. That's
big,
nice.
Spacious, built nice, good dimensions, just a good-looking field. And again, it's Philly, so you're going to get a good atmosphere, good environment.
Right, and we've seen a game down there. You've seen a couple. I've seen one down there. Mookie didn't play that day. Drove up to this Jersey Shore and saw that. I think that's a nice
The
park.
one thing I'll remember about that day is game was going slow. Red Sox weren't playing that well.
Yeah, they suck.
And we were there with my cousin Robbie. He's older. He's about 30 years old, and his son, his newborn baby or 2-year-old baby, was back at home. So they couldn't stay the whole game. He was trying to decide when to leave. All of a sudden, Drew Pomerantz comes in the game. He decides right then and there, I don't need to see Drew Pomerantz pitch, and gets up and leaves. Just very funny.
Yeah, I think the baby was mom and Amanda down the shore, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Citizens Bank, nice. But the thing about Citizens Bank, if you have never been to Philadelphia, and I've seen football down, we've been to the Link for Temple games, that whole complex is easy parking. It's everything's in one spot, unlike here in Massachusetts where you got to go to Foxborough. And I was going to go to Citizens Bank last weekend for Bruce, so I would have gotten to see it from a different perspective. So you go Citizens Bank. My next pick, I'm going to go with an outlier. I'm going to take Kansas City.
I was about to ask, because you just said about the parking, I was about to say, what about Kansas City?
Kansas City with Arrowhead next to it, it's great. And the other thing, the park is really nice.
They're a basketball team, so.
Right, it's nice there, and if you ever get a chance to do a road trip there, I would go Kansas City. I'm going to put you back on the spot now after KC.
No, I didn't want to pick this one here, but I'll go PNC Park.
Oh, you know what, PNC, if we ever got a chance to go to PNC, I think our moods would change. That's another one where you see the sun.
That might be built in the best spot.
I think that might have been
more so than Oracle.
I would probably put that above even Camden Yards. Not that
Did you just forget about it?
Yeah,
it's number one on this list I have here. So
because I haven't been there, so
everyone talks about it highly, but I don't. The issue, I kind of like stadiums that have good. So I'd like to sit behind home. I'm saying sit in foul ground territory. Kind of like stadiums that have. You know, this is a bad point because the outfield. I like stadiums with outfield stands. to be honest, with good outfield stuff like that, like a good scoreboard,
Yeah.
maybe good bleachers. Then, like Fenway, you got the bleachers, you got a nice scoreboard in center field, you got the green monster.
Yeah,
And then you have the two buildings. You have the Prudential Center and the Hancock building.
Yep.
PNC, while it has the whole city and that's beautiful and everything,
It's still Pittsburgh.
there's also in the bridge and all that. The outfield, the stands are just generically boring.
Okay.
It's a weird thing. Like, I don't know.
I'll give you generic.
It's just it's a basic wall around. Like even
I know what you mean.
even in
Right.
San Francisco, it's an interesting field because of the dimensions of it, how deep it is. It's got the brick wall in right field and that sort of stuff. So that's
true.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's.
I'm trying to think.
I'm
trying to think of stadiums that I have been to that would make my list here before this pick. I'm gonna go Yankee Stadium just because it's Yankee Stadium. It's New York. I've been to the old one.
If you take, I'll just take this right. I'll take Citi Field.
And you go City.
Just because it's new and it's probably I've not been there. I would imagine both of those stadiums are very nice. Just if you're sitting in the grandstand,
Correct.
They're comfortable.
Right. Yeah, Citi Field and Yankee Stadium. Now let me think.
Are we at 6?
Yeah, we have one more. I've been to Angel. You and I went to Angel Stadium. I want to put that up there. Mom and I went to a tour of Seattle's ballpark, which I really like, but I've not seen a game there. But I'm gonna put Seattle on there for now, and I'm just trying to think of other stadiums that are in each division. Cleveland's got a nice one, but I'll go with Seattle last.
All right.
You got one last pick.
I'm going to continue my river ballpark stadiums, and I'm going to go with Great American Ballpark. Again, I just said all the stuff about the cool outfield walls and dimensions. This might be the most basic ballpark there is, the easiest ballpark to hit a home run in. But it's I have a friend who's been there a couple times, really likes the games there, and they're starting to get good again. And it's right on the river, so.
That's
I'm continuing my river ballparks. The other one I was thinking about might have been which one? So they have Petco ranked real high. Petco stinks. The other one,
Petco's got a nice outfield.
You can't pick
look,
Atlanta.
though.
I don't even know what stadium Atlanta plays in. They've been
They
in
play
3
in
in the past
Truist.
2
You know what?
years.
Your mom went to a game at Truist last year. She did see a game already. She saw a game with their work. She was down there for work. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, I've been to some old ballparks too. And
what's your favorite old ballpark that doesn't exist anymore?
It doesn't exist. Boy, that's a great question. Probably Connie Mack Stadium, first game I ever went to in North Philadelphia. I don't really remember. I was like 5 years old. That's a good question. What's the best ballpark got torn down? Memorial Stadium in Baltimore was really good. Great sight lines, cheap seats. I went to see the Sox play down there a couple times growing up in Pennsylvania. The Vet was horrible in Philadelphia. All the old parks were terrible. I mean, when the Angel Stadium, before they've redone it like 3 times, Angel Stadium used to be wide open in left field, and the Big A was out there, and the freeway would run by it. And it was really nice. I saw that in '76. It was a really nice.
Angel Stadium, that was blah.
Yeah, but that's
The
3
new one.
renovations ago. It's the same stadium, but 3 renovations. I've seen it in all three sequences. So, all right, yeah. I'm just trying to think. Comiskey was a rat trap in Chicago. The funny one they didn't like on our trip was Milwaukee. I wasn't a big fan of Milwaukee.
Nobody really likes that. Any retractable roof stadium is going to look quite ugly.
Didn't like
it's
Milwaukee.
a lot of metal.
All right, so we got the 7 wonders done. We've talked about the award winners for the baseball. Anything else on your agenda, Mr. Boyle?
I got all my baseball stuff done. We talked about Ohtani, talked about Red Sox, Yankees, all that. Yeah, I've got everything checked off here.
Okay, so we are good to go then as we get ready to exit this second episode of It All Boils Down to This.
We can do a football preview next week.
We'll do a football preview next week,
right.
and then I'm going to Scotland for 2 weeks, so we're going to be off unless Jack can figure out how to use the studio, bring some of his friends in, and they can boil it down to that. Like I said, we're open to all guests. I have to say, your sister gave me a hard time, Amanda, so we'll actually bring her in, and she can spew her sports knowledge, and see if we get Mom in here, too, then get all the Boyles in one.
The thing with football is you can't do the preview too early. You got to do it. It's like the fantasy draft. You got to do it right before the season starts, because we'll do a preview, and I'll pick the Bills to win the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen will tear his ACL in training camp or the next preseason game.
Right, and next week is the last. This is the last preseason game.
Yeah, when's the first game?
The first game would be a week from Thursday. Then
Are the Chiefs playing it probably?
I have no idea who's in Thursday football.
I
I
would
don't
assume
pay
it's
that
the
much
Chiefs.
attention. I should. So like I said, episode 2 in the books. Thanks a lot to actually Jack's the co-host. Jack did all the work today, got everything lined up. Makes my life a lot easier, Jack, when you do that. So we'll for Jack Boyle. This is Jim Boyle. We'll see you on down the road. Thanks for listening to this episode of It All Boils Down to This, recorded at WCTV studios in our hometown of Wilmington, Massachusetts. We are always open to any ideas, critiques, topics, and guests. So if anyone out there in podcast world needs to get a hold of us, we can be reached via email at jboyle22@comcast.net. Along with Jack Boyle, I'm Jim Boyle. Make sure to tune in to the next edition of It All Boils Down to This.